Hi there, I'm Sam Comfort. I run Anarchy Apiaries. I keep about 500 treatment-free beehives up and down the East Coast. I got into beekeeping when I won my first 6 hives in a poker game, but that's not actually true. It's just the best story I've come up with. But I started in the industrial beekeeping world, working several jobs, working for honey producers, queen raisers, migratory pollinators, and just seeing the belly of the beast and what people have to do to their bees to keep them alive in our modern system of intensive farming. And I felt bad for these guys because there's really no young blood coming into this industry. To wake up in the morning, to have to medicate your bees, to have to feed your bees, to have to move them thousands of miles in order to make ends meet. It's just not an attractive lifestyle, so a lot of people don't want to really take up that mantle. And of course these beekeepers aren't going to take their bees to their graves with them, but they don't know who to trust or where to go next. But I knew from the get-go that bees are resilient. Bees aren't like cows. They haven't been messed with like other parts of our agriculture, and they have this wildness under the surface. So I had faith in the bees and decided to not treat the bees that I acquired, and I'm 9 years now of doing no treatments. I use a couple of tactics. I use resistant genetics, I use natural comb in my hives, and I also let the bees swarm or simulate the swarms. I just aid the decisions that the bees are already making. Well, there's this Venn diagram that you have farmers in one circle and crazy people in the other circle, and that intersection, that's where the beekeepers fall. It's it's a different kind of lifestyle for sure. And I think once we get into beekeeping, we all keep with it because we're addicted to the pheromones. If you're gonna become a beekeeper, for one thing, I'd say don't buy anything, because they'll try to sell you all this plastic stuff and all these chemicals to try to keep your hives alive, or really you can just build a bait box. You can hang up an empty box up in a tree or a deer stand or out of a barn somewhere, and the bees just might show up. They might choose you. It's like fishing, you don't know if it's gonna work, but the bees that you'll find out in your area, in your environment, that have survived and are swarming are the best bees that you can find. You can't buy bees like that. They're real bees. What I realized about a beehive is that they're foraging in a 6-mile radius if they need to. That's over 80,000 acres. And suddenly, if you're going to take care of your hive, you're responsible for that amount of land. And regardless of borders, regardless of property ownership, to protect your bees, you're taking this responsibility. And that's where the anarchy comes in. To protect your hive, you really want to know what your neighbors are doing, what they're spraying, what the farms are using around you, and you help these people to better our bee population. Well, as far as I see it, it's not CCD, not colony collapse disorder. It's more like PCD, people collapse disorder. Our honeybees have been around, we figure, for over 80 million years. So I think they have the ability to solve problems. They have a symbiotic way of working, even in the way that they eat. They're just benefiting the flowers and promoting the genetic diversity around the world. It's really, bees are really the catalyst of creating different species, and faster than any kind of wind pollination could ever do. So, but the way that the bees fit in with the environment, I think they're going to be just fine. We're not saving the bees. If anything, the bees are saving us. I think to better the situation with bees, you ought to support your local beekeepers, see what they're up to, see what's on their bookshelf, really try to strengthen our whole agricultural system of what it's going to look like in the next generation. We need to have a little foresight. We can't be starving our grandchildren while we're feeding our children. But I'd really stick with your friends, stick with your community, and have a vision of what our next generation is going to look like. Because it's not going to be this intensive, really petroleum draining system of our current mode of agriculture. If anything that the bees are telling us, it's that the system's not going to work for too much longer.